Find the Juice and Teddy Slugger is back with your Week 12 fantasy football projections. Before we get into it, if you are into sports betting, then go ahead and follow Find the Juice on X. The link is in the description below, and you will get our daily dog of the day in NHL and our value pick in the NBA. We are currently 3-1 so far in NBA, probably 4 or 5-1, depending on when this comes out, and up almost 2 units already. We are also 8-4, which is a 67% hit rate on NHL underdogs, and up basically 6 units over there. Yes, you heard that right. We are hitting underdog picks at a 67% rate. We know everything is expensive these days, so if you need extra money for groceries for Thanksgiving or some extra cash for Christmas, then follow along and we promise we will put some extra money in your pockets. And now, let's start with our Week 11 recap. And the only thing I want to recap about this week is probably viewed as my craziest pick. I might have been the only man on this earth to have this man in his top 12 last week. Hell, probably the only man on earth to have him in the top 10 last week, and that is Jacoby Brissett, baby. Brissett finished Week 11 breaking the NFL record for pass completions on his way to 2 touchdowns and 454 passing yards against the San Francisco 49ers. And if you want more good plays like that one, then stay tuned as I break down some underrated picks in Week 12. If you've been following along during this fantasy football season, then you know that we try to pick out guys to talk about that other people aren't talking about or too scared to talk about or don't have ranked in their top 12. And this week at quarterback, we're going to be talking about Trevor Lawrence. Now, Trevor Lawrence has had 2 duds since the Jags bye week, but in Week 12, he is matched up with the Arizona Cardinals injured secondary who are missing their top 3 cornerbacks, with Garrett Williams still questionable and could also miss this Week 12 matchup. The Cardinals play a ton of cover 4 and cover 3 zone defense. They like to keep everything in front of them, and although Lawrence looks to have struggled against zone defense, he has thrown a lot of catchable balls versus zone. So how much of that completion percentage is due to drops from Brian Thomas Jr.? Adding Jacoby Myers at the trade deadline for Lawrence should help in this game, as Myers has done a good job against zone defense and likes to operate underneath, which should help against the Cardinals' cover 4 zone. This means the Cardinals defend to allow no deep, big passing play. Trevor Lawrence should also hopefully have tight end Brenton Strange back. Strange's 2 best games this season came against Houston and San Francisco, who run a ton of cover 3 coverage, which is weak against the slot and tight end. Couple that with the Cards playing cover 4, Strange should be a key factor for Lawrence if the Jags want to win this week's game. Next, we're going to talk about a running back who popped off in Week 11, but the OG starting running back could be back this week, and we're going to tell you why you should not worry about that, and that is Trevion Henderson. The Cincinnati Bengals, who the Patriots are facing this week, are the 5th worst defense in the metric of fantasy points per rush allowed. And they're the 2nd worst in the metric of fantasy points per target allowed to running backs. In Week 11, Trevion Henderson took 70% of the team carries for the Patriots and had a 15% target share. I fully expect the same if Ramondre Stevenson misses Week 12. This is fully possible with the Patriots playing the Bengals, and on top of that, the Patriots trying to be fully healthy come playoff time and down the stretch to fight for the number 1 seed in the AFC. Without Ramondre, we do have Trevion ranked as the 2nd highest running back in Week 12, but even with Ramondre, we still have Trevion getting you a solid 14 PPR points. To help with the volume for Hendo, the Pats' explosive offense, Vrabel-led defense, and the suspension of Jamar Chase should allow the Pats to get out to a good lead. That would mean more rushing attempts for Henderson due to the Patriots trying to run the clock, which winning teams typically do. This is why why it's best to only draft running backs from winning teams. Obviously, there are outliers like with anything else, with high target earning running backs like Bijan Robinson, Devon Achane, and Alvin Kamara. But do not use these very small outliers as a reason to get away from the rule. If you're losing this season, remember next year in your redraft leagues to draft running backs from winning teams. And I will let you know that this week I found no good tight ends. My only tight end I could have talked about was Kyle Pitts, and I don't feel comfortable telling people to actually use Kyle Pitts. One, Kirk Cousins is starting. Two, he's just not that good. So finally, we're going to end it with a receiver. And we're going to stay in that Patriots and Bengals game. And we're going to talk about T. Higgins. Higgins should see a large target boost with Jamar Chase being suspended for the game. And although the Patriots do have a top pass defense, they allow the 7th most fantasy points per target to wide receiver. The Patriots play about an even amount of cover 2, cover 3, and cover 4 defenses, but 2 of those defenses, cover 2 and cover 3, are beaten deep. T. Higgins is 10th in the NFL in deep targets so far this season, and new quarterback Joe Flacco is 7th in the NFL in deep pass attempts. T. Higgins has played 5 games in his career without Jamar Chase, and he's averaging 102 receiving yards, and he's caught 3 touchdowns in those games. But it gets better. He has gone for 140 yards or more in 2 of those 5 games. Those games were not against slouches either, as 2 of the games were against the Steelers and 1 was against the Cleveland Browns. Now we have T projected for 15 fantasy points in week 12. Now I will tell you that it is not a ceiling, but more of a median. T has actually hit that PPR point total in 3 of Flacco's 6 games in Cincinnati already. And it's fair to say that T could be going over 20 again in week 12. And that's going to do it for week 12. Remember to go ahead and follow us on X if you want to get some free good sports betting picks to get yourself money for the holidays. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe if we helped you out in week 12 or any of the past weeks. And I will let you know, starting week 15, we will no longer be doing fantasy football videos as everyone will be in their playoffs. We will be starting our NBA and NHL videos for the season. So stay tuned, get excited, go win week 12, make the playoffs. Until week 13, peace.